When the show first started, it was, I imagine, intended to be a serious talk show because the company that I worked for, that I did the news for, also owned the Phil Donahue and Sally Jesse Raphael show, and I guess they knew that Phil was getting close to retiring, so they were looking for someone to take that slot. So they took me to lunch one day and said, Jerry was starting another talk show and you're going to host it. And that, I think, was the idea, that I would do news at night, which I did, and then do the talk show during the day. So it started out serious.
The grass is green in New York.
As the show evolved, once I gave up the news, we decided to aim towards a young audience. And that's when, once we started aiming young, then we started going crazy.
One of the most embarrassing fights I ever participated in on the show is when this girl Jill came out. She was like 5'5", but a big girl. She came out, everyone started tearing off her shirt, and it just ended up that I had to, you know, try to take her and break her up. Dan fell into the audience, and this girl wanted the guy that Dan had. I could not stop her. I used all my strength. She jumps off the stage with me, you know, trailing behind, holding on for dear life. And when we went to go edit, I tried to cut around it because it was really embarrassing for me that this girl basically kicked my butt.
I think the most outrageous show we ever did was, and it's tough to pick one because we've done 1,400 crazy shows, was this guy who was being stalked by a gay guy. And he hated that notion. So what he did is he cut off his own male organ, figuring that the gay guy would now lose interest in him. And he was on the show. And so was the gay guy. And I'm thinking, why didn't he just change his number? Today, I'm always asked the question, where do we find these people? The truth is, they're everywhere. We get thousands of calls a week from people who want to be on the show with their stories. And they come from all over the United States, large cities, small towns, north, south. You know, there's no one particular group of people. But we're inundated with calls from people who want to be on the show, and it's just a matter of finding those guests that are going to be the most outrageous.
How long have you been going? Why are you?
I think people want to come on the show. Well, various people have different reasons. For example, some people want to come on just because it's exciting to be on television.
It's really hard.
Some people want to come on because they want to get something off their chest.
Now remember, Monique doesn't know.
I don't even want to sit down.
People always ask me all the time, which are the most difficult fights to break up on the show? Well, I'm here to tell you, it's the women fighting. They grab each other's hair, they go at it, there's no ego involved. When we go out there and grab men, we wrap them up, they want to stop fighting, not the women. Their emotions are running high, they locking into that hair. We got to pry them apart. They will not stop fighting. So I'm here to tell you, the women are the toughest fighters on our show.
People always ask me what is the worst fight we've ever had on stage, and I have to think back to Clanfrontations. The Klan was on the show with their bodyguards, and one of the Jewish Defense League guys came out with all his bodyguards, and once they got on stage, it was all over. Why don't you take a look at the clip?
Line.
Our show is on the edge. If you're going to be on the edge, just as you're going to get a lot of praise, the praise that makes us #1, we're also going to get a lot of criticism. And I think that's part of the decision we make by having a crazy show. And I think that's fine, and I respect it. As long as we all understand the ground rule, which is, in this country, you can like a show or not like a show. That's your choice. That's why God gave us remote control. But you can't ever tell another person what he or she is allowed to watch.
Here is
Happened.
I love the show, and it's great fun to do. I got a great staff of people who, you know, love what they do. They're fun to be around. You know, we all have great jobs.
Are you the black sheep of the family, or are you dating someone who's a black sheep? In fact, if you're dating a sheep, give us a call at 1-800-29-JERRY.
When I started doing the news, when they, you know, hired me to anchor the newscast in Cincinnati, they said, why don't you come up with a closing line? Like Walter Cronkite used to always end by saying, that's the way it is, and then he'd give the date. You know, so I was trying to think of at least a line which reflects a philosophy I have in my life. And I knew saying take care of yourself by itself didn't mean much, because people do kind of take care of themselves. In fact, sometimes too much they take care of themselves. And so I wanted to add, and each other, that we can't become a society so preoccupied only with our own well-being. I guess it's my liberal philosophy, which says we also got to take care of each other. So that's how that, and I did it at the end of every newscast. So again, once I did the show, I just continued to use that as my closing line.
If we don't find room for Jesse Jackson and the forgotten and alienated Americans he represents, if we chase these folks out of the system, what avenue is left for them to vent their anger?
Thanks for joining us. NBC Nightly News is up next.
And then we'll be back with updates every hour on the hour, full report at 11. Until then, take care of yourself and each other. Good night.
Good night.